I would say I'm glad to be here, but I'm feeling a certain kind of way.
Thank you.
You see, in addition to being a state representative for 65,000 folks in Northwest Philly, I also serve on the Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
Well, why is that relevant information? Well, the Judiciary Committee created the Select Committee that's meeting in there. A meeting that I was not invited to.
Shame.
I said it.
We're not surprised.
You know, I have a habit of going to places where I wasn't invited. But nobody's going to tell me I can't go in somewhere in my own community.
That's right.
And Philly's my community.
That's right.
And they are using us as political pawns.
That's right.
To go back home and throw red meat out to their rural constituents who are misinformed. They're not bad people, but they're misinformed and they're buying all this stuff that all the bad stuff happens in Philly. Meanwhile, there's some deeply concerning facts that people don't want to hear about, where gun violence happens across the Commonwealth. And so much of the gun violence is actually suicide. And the leading demographic of folks who are committing suicide is older white men.
Teach.
But those Republicans aren't even representing their own constituents. Because they got a lot of old white men they represent. They're not advocating for them. Democrats are. But look, I'll be honest, I'm not here as a Democrat. I'm not. Because there's some raggedy Democrats too.
Tell the truth, Rabb. That's raggedy.
Listen, I'm not supposed to be here. I was supposed to have lost. They laughed at me. Not the Republicans. Democrats.
Because they secret Republicans represent
Listen. Listen. The only reason I'm here.
Come on.
The only reason, it's not lobbyists.
Come on.
It's not a household name.
Come on.
It's not independent wealth. I don't even have dependent wealth.
Come on.
It's because I trusted the people.
Come on.
And every time I trusted the power of the people, it's worked out.
There you go.
An example of that is a former constituent of mine named Larry Krasner. The people put him in office. The people have kept him in office. Now, there's going to be a much smaller group of people that will determine his fate if he can carry out the remainder of his second term. And guess what? None of them are here. None of them are the folks who are on the front lines of justice. None of them have proposed solutions to address the public health crisis of gun violence. None of them talk about white supremacy. None of them talk about systemic racism. None of them talk about structural inequality. These are just words. Important words, but they're too afraid to even utter the words.
That's it.
And if you mumble around just white supremacy, am I going to trust you on public policy that impacts 13 million people? Hell no! Which is why they don't want me in there.
That's right.
The Judiciary Committee chairs from Franklin County in South Central Pennsylvania, because I was going to say some other thing. And he recently bragged at his Second Amendment Day rally, all white, that he has chosen to prohibit all Democratic bills, well, except for one out of Philly. He was keeping all Democratic bills that address guns out of his committee. The only way the bills that you care about, the issues that we care about, that it get to the House floor, has to come through his committee. There are 15 Republicans on every standing committee and 10 Democrats. So even if it came up for a vote, he would make sure all his people would vote no. But he doesn't have the moral integrity to at least have the discussion, to have a hearing. A hearing doesn't guarantee a bill will fly through his committee, but they don't even have the decency to have the discussion. But now, they're meeting in a fake hearing. That's a fake hearing, folks. I've been part of many hearings. That's fake. Because all public hearings have to be open to who?
The public. Right? Yeah.
This is taxpayer dollars right here. If they're not letting you in, they're afraid.
That's right.
And that fear is good because that means what we're doing is working. We need to continue that to make sure that when the vote comes up in Harrisburg to whether we impeach Larry Krasner or let the voices of Philadelphia speak like they did on Election Day, let him continue to do the work he's doing in service of justice. Am I right?
That's right.
This is the work. So the fact that you're here, the fact that there was media documenting your presence in this very diverse and outspoken and sometimes profane audience. I mean, that's what profanity's for. Right? Then that shows that there's another narrative that frankly a lot of media does not want to amplify. It's that we are united as Philadelphia. And there may be some stragglers, there may be some anomalies who are supposed to represent us, who we need to deal with. Right now, our focus is on justice and what happens in that room and ultimately what happens in Harrisburg. So let's keep